Welcome to Question Monday. Yeah, Question Monday. I'm going to answer some questions from you, the viewers, that have been sending me some questions. All right, RT66, Route 66, right? Route 66 says, is a 64 a good ASVAB score to become a gunner's mate? All right, I'm actually working on a video on this whole topic right here that Route 66 just asked me, because that 66 has nothing to do with you becoming a gunner's mate or not. It does not, all right? And what the 66 means is, are you eligible to enlist in the military? That is it. Now, granted, the higher your score, okay, this percentile, that 64, if it's like an 89 or a 99, if it's 99, yeah, the higher the number, the more jobs, because the higher the score, okay? That's, like I said, I'm going to make a whole video of this. I've been working on it. I just don't like the way it's been turning out. I've been redoing it. But that 64 is just letting the military know, the armed forces know, if you can enlist in what branch. So for instance, you get a 31. That's telling the military you can only enlist in one branch, the Army. If you get a 32, you can enlist in the Marines or the Army. All right. If you score 35, you have three options. You have the Navy, then the Marines, and also the Army to choose from. So with a 64, you have the option of enlisting in any of the branches, providing you pass all the other criteria and such. But that's all that means. Okay, so that number has nothing to do with a gunner's mate. What you want to look at are your standard scores. That's what you want to look at. And I'll put the little formula that you want to look at, the numbers. And as long as these numbers under your standard score come out to the 205 for a gunner's mate, then you're eligible to be a gunner's mate. Okay, has nothing to do with the 65. And like I said, I'm making another whole video on that. Dustin says, my recruiter said I can change my job after boot camp. Is this true? No, it is not. All right, I don't know if recruiters do this just because they're ill-informed or they just don't give two toots. The military has already spent a great deal of time and manpower hours, money, in getting you through the recruiting process, depending on how long you're in debt, going to MEPS, and then now boot camp. It's not cheap, okay? So for them to say like this right after boot camp, I don't know, like especially like right after boot camp, no, you have orders to a specific A school, okay? Unless you're going in as like a PAC seaman or something. But the idea is you're already holding a spot, that billet, okay, at that A school. So it's not like they can just like, oh, we can switch you now. It does not happen that way, no. Even later on in your career, it's going to be needs of the Navy. All right, if for whatever reason your rating is getting so locked up that people are just not advancing, they'll be like, hey, we're offering, you can cross rate, things of that nature. If you leave active duty, go to the reserves, quite often, not always, but quite often you can cross rate. I actually cross rated twice by doing that with going on the reserve side. But no, they're investing so much money. And then think about it. Once you go to A school, and depending on what your rating is, say like for instance, IS, you go to A school and you're going to go to C school. They've invested thousands of dollars. They're not just going to turn around like a year or two later and say, oh yeah, no problem, we're just going to let you go ahead and cross rate. That is not going to happen, no. My advice is join the Navy or whatever branch at the rating or the MOS that you want. And if not, if you need to, just go back to MEPS. Okay? But I can cover that more in another video. Let's see. Beats with a Z. Who is eligible to apply for disability at the VA? All right. Good question. Disability. You need a service-connected injury. Okay, so even if it's like I've talked about on my channel about depression, any type of mental health, it still needs to be documented in your record, okay? Meaning it's not something like you broke your arm or your leg where they have x-rays and things of that nature where they can actually visually see it. But you need some type of documentation, If you don't have documentation, there are other ways around that, but that's another topic. Okay, it is, I tell everyone, even if you do not have some type of injury where you're going to be financially compensated, you should at least file, okay, for, you know, maybe like something that, you know, like say you're ringing in your ear, maybe it doesn't really bother you or whatever. I'm just using that as a hypothetical. If you can have it service connected, but you're not receiving compensation financially, you at least get a 0 rating. And that 0 rating can help you have like one step up from somebody else who does not have even that 0 rating for like applying for federal jobs and things of that nature. So yeah, that was a really good question, but you have to have a service connected injury to be able to apply for any type of disability with the military or with the VA from the military. Sergio says, how many funerals can you participate in one day? All right, I am assuming, shouldn't assume, Sergio is a reservist. And the answer is you can participate if you could theoretically do like 100 funerals in one day. You can participate in as many as you want, but you're only going to get paid for one. And you're only going to receive 1 retirement point. All right, because active duty gets 1 point per day, and that's what you receive, that 1 point equivalent, along with that 1 day of active duty pay. So, you know, and for those that are wondering, you know, like maybe it's like a weird question. For instance, here in South Florida, I was in charge of the the funerals down here in South Florida, in the Miami area for like 10 plus years. So we would often do like 6, 8, 10 funerals in one day. And yeah, that seems like a lot, but this was back, especially the height of it was like 2002, 2003, when a lot of the World War II vets were passing. And if you think about it, and I'm sure probably Arizona and some other areas are much like South Florida, you have a lot of snowbirds that come down during the winter, and if they pass, then you have multiple funerals. But yeah, 1 point, you get paid for 1 day, but you can do as many funerals. What I do recommend you doing though, is if you're gonna do multiple funerals, even if it's like, you know, 2 a day or whatever, keep track of those funerals in a logbook. Because when it comes time to do your evaluation, you can be like, hey, you know, I participated in this last, you know, evaluation period in like 179 funerals. All right, so Amber, last question. Amber asked, if I popped positive at MEPS, how long until I can take it again? She can take the test again. Amber, you're done. All right, ain't happening. And I see this so often with a variety of drugs, okay? This particular one, because we did have a little bit of a conversation, dialogue back and forth, and it was marijuana. Now, I understand, and I've heard a lot about, well, in my state, you know, like Colorado, it is legal, all right? Or I have a marijuana card or whatever. It's not legal in the military, at least, you know, not yet. And I don't know if that part will ever be, but no. If you do drugs, any drug, but especially marijuana, because that's the one, and I say especially because that's the one I hear the most. If you do smoke marijuana, stop. If you want to enlist in the military, regardless of the branch, stop, okay? Because you can't do it when you're in. So you might as well get used to it now. And I mean, I don't know if this might come across a little harsh, and you know, I'm trying to like, but I see this so often. And I hear, well, you know, here's a recipe, or you go to, you know, Walgreens and you take this, or you drink this much water, or, okay, first off, it doesn't work like that. It's different. Male, female, ages, the weight, metabolism, okay? There's just so many factors. So what works for one person will not work for necessarily somebody else. The simple answer is just don't do drugs. Stop. And, you know, for whatever reason, if you decide like, hey, I'm going to join the military, Navy or any other branch, and you know that you did some weed or anything else, and either one, tell your recruiter, like, hey, I can't go to MEPS because I'm going to pop positive. Okay, chances are your recruiter's gonna, talk to you about it and, find out how long and stuff ago it was and just change the date. The other thing is, if you don't tell them, just don't even go to the recruiter. I recommend individuals, if I know certain people that are doing, smoking weed, just wait a couple months, 2, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. Get that stuff out of your system and stop altogether, okay? Because zero tolerance. And some individuals be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, even if you, well, it's pop positive at MEPS. And just to put this out there too, this particular individual informed me that this was at MEPS at not the first time going down for your rating, but actually in the final MEPS swearing in to go off to boot camp. So, yeah, then you end up getting nailed with a general discharge. Or, I mean, there's different things they can do. Just don't do it, okay? Just don't do it, because I know individuals that have pop positive at MEPS or in boot camp. Trust me, in boot camp, they somehow got a joint in and they smoked it, or in A school or whatever. And what happens is, if you ever want a federal job, and you may say, no, I don't want that. But if you're younger, you don't necessarily know. Federal job. I know 2 people that were turned down at the post office, federal job, because of getting kicked out for smoking weed. I know a couple individuals, firefighting, turned away. Police officer, becoming a police officer, turned away. So it's just simple, don't do it. It's not tolerated. So just, I'm sorry, zero tolerance, you're done. That's just the way it is. So that's the questions I have for you guys today. I will be back. Like I said, I want to do 1 or 2 of these during the week. I have a whole entire notebook. I mean, it's crazy how many questions I have. And yeah, so till the next video, take care, please be safe, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.